AEW 2024 should be a year of celebration. The challenger brand signed a massive $180 million TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery and will remain on television for at least the next 3 years. But somehow, this wasn't the story of AEW in 2024. AEW's TV deal was a footnote to a series of confusing, nonsensical, and outright bad storylines with no continuity whatsoever. Even at its peak during its early years, AEW received criticism for its over-reliance on wrestling with limited stories. But in 2024, AEW is a promotion with good wrestling but terrible stories. What's worse is the novelty of banger wrestling matches is worn off. AEW's failure to give its characters and matches compelling angles has led to drops in viewership across the board for all of its programming. Dynamite keeps losing to NXT on the CW. Rampage is a lame duck show set to be canceled in 2025, and whatever's left of Collision keeps doing record lows and has to go up against WWE PLEs at least once a month. Today, we're going to talk about how some of AEW's worst storylines ran off viewers, causing the product to implode in the middle of a WWE resurgence. Subscribe in Swahili. AEW's public perception is worse than United Healthcare. The only difference is AEW's CEO is still alive. Shout to Toni. If that vigilante took out TK, people would be asking themselves why Luigi Mangione murked his ugly Bizarro twin. AEW self-destructed in 2023 amid the CM Punk saga, a saga that continues to haunt AEW. In 2024, AEW went from dealing with hate to dealing with apathy, which is even worse. Few characters connected. There was no cinema to speak of. Continuity was on life support and has since been denied its health insurance claim because continuity is dead in this company. But at least Dave Meltzer got his wish with the debut of Will Ospreay and all those valuable stars. The exchange rate between dollars drawn and a star rating will make the Wrestling Observer newsletter look like a third world country. Thank God for the saving grace of the incel wrestling company, which was Toni Storm. Storm came out of nowhere with a Hollywood starlet character that immediately captured fan attention. She barely even had to try to get her gimmick and catchphrase over. As AEW Women's World Champion, Storm formed a heel faction with wrestling lifer Luther and the up-and-coming Mariah May. Storm and May played well off each other, and like every wrestling alliance, a breakup was inevitable. But instead of building up to a satisfying split between two talented performers, AEW immediately pulled the trigger on a Mariah May heel turn before tensions were ever even teased. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. AEW had two red-hot characters. Mariah won the Owen Cup, which meant a future match with AEW Women's World Champion Toni Storm. But instead of using that stipulation to slowly build animosity, AEW booked Mariah May to turn heel that night. It was shocking. It was memorable, but then people just moved on. AEW blew its load too early with Toni and Mariah. They were like the McDonald's and Starbucks of AEW, only for Tony Khan to murder the momentum. When Mariah went into her big explanation the next week, she got what chance from a nonplussed audience. AEW was on its way to creating a compelling character in Mariah May, but then she turned heel before anybody really got to know her. Fans still saw Mariah May as Toni Storm's understudy and only really reacted to Storm. Storm dropped her title to May at All In and disappeared for months. After making her long-awaited return, Storm wrestled her return match on Rampage under her old gimmick. Where's timeless Toni Storm? Was she picked off by an Ivy League student looking to send a message about the corruption in Hollywood? Turns out the Storm character, stay with me here, developed amnesia and forgot who she was. Storm's amnesia angle is an early favorite to be one of the worst gimmicks of 2025, but I believe in her talents and hope she pulls it off. AEW's women's division experienced more than just one bad storyline, and the next entry could signal the end of one of AEW's original stars. Mercedes Moné debuted with AEW in 2024, immediately supplanting Britt Baker as AEW's top women's star. When Britt returned at Forbidden Door, AEW had all the tools for a dream match between an AEW original and a top star from up north. It looked amazing on paper. Sadly, that paper read like a batshit manifesto from a hypocrite killer. Baker's 2024 was riddled with start and stop appearances due to both bad health and backstage reasons. Baker's original absence was due to a health scare after she suffered a mini stroke. Shortly after her return, a backstage altercation with MJF and his girlfriend Alicia Atout resulted in Britt's alleged suspension. In what was supposed to be their finest hour, Britt Baker and Mercedes Mone, despite their talents, stunk up the joint at AEW All In with the worst match on that card. Britt disappeared from TV yet again after infamously being seen on camera saying "nobody cares" in response to Serena Deeb. Nobody Cares is also AEW's slogan for 2024, as well as the internet's official comment on Brian Thompson's death. Both Mercedes and Britt Baker embody AEW's failures for opposite reasons. Mercedes was paid a lot of money to be a top star in AEW and increase viewership. She's on TV every week with not one but two belts and has mostly great matches. But this is not translated into bigger ratings. It's not Mercedes' fault. Nobody could save AEW right now. Britt Baker, on the other hand, spent most of 2024 off TV, and even when she came back, AEW's storytelling for her only major feud was so weak, nobody cared. The same cannot be said about MJF and Adam Cole, who not too long ago seemed to be on the verge of saving AEW. As Better Than You, Baby, MJF and Cole's buddy comedy was instant magic. It led to the babyface turn of MJF and some of AEW's best character development to date. But after suffering a freak injury on Dynamite, Cole went heel months later, revealing himself to be the devil. Cole formed The Kingdom featuring Wardlow. Like Wardlow, the faction went nowhere in 2024. Cole returned as a babyface after his ankle injury healed, no thanks to United Healthcare, am I right? But shortly after MJF reverted to being a heel, the two essentially switched roles for no reason, and the best alibi AEW could come up with is that MJF has always been a bad person? So wait a minute, MJF held it down for Adam Cole by defending their tag team titles by himself, sometimes even wrestling twice on the same show, and after Adam Cole turned on MJF, Cole is a sympathetic figure? Is you crazy? To make things worse, AEW overthought itself and had Roderick Strong outduel Adam Cole to win the right to face MJF on pay-per-view. We got Roderick Strong versus MJF on pay-per-view, and guess what? Nobody cared. Britt Baker's words, and mine. Somebody who cares almost too much about fixing AEW's problems is Jon Moxley. In August of this year, Mox returned with the revamped version of the Blackpool Combat Club, now dubbed the Deathriders, or as I like to call them, the Whitepool Combat Club. Dean Clanbrose won the AEW World Championship with the backing of a stable inspired by a skinhead movie. It's an art-imitating life storyline about Moxley showing tough love to AEW by trying to get AEW's original young core of stars to be better. I like the ambition, but this ain't it. We have a large enough sample size to gauge just how effective AEW's top storyline is. It's not. Bizarro Luigi needs to assassinate this gimmick, and if he does, all but the words written on the bullet would say, "Nobody cares." This is a similar sentiment to AEW's worst storyline in 2024. In fact, I think this storyline is the reason people were immediately fatigued with AEW's latest takeover angle, and that story was none other than the Elite's hostile takeover. Invasion storylines almost never work, and the one that did work is one of the greatest stables in pro wrestling history. So either the AEW takeover angle wouldn't work out, or if it did, everything they did would be held to the standard of the NWO. This was a lose-lose situation from the jump. AEW paired scapegoat Jack Perry alongside the Young Bucks and Okada. On paper, this should have been a hot stable, but unlike that paper the Elite was drawn on, the Elite didn't draw. You look at two top stars and EVPs in the Young Bucks, Jack Perry coming off all that CM Punk drama, and the incomparable Kazuchika Okada. Like, what could go wrong? Everything. The Young Bucks took part in an embarrassing angle where they aired backstage footage from last year's Brawl In. This kept CM Punk relevant while showing a Spike audience footage of an AEW pillar losing a fight in real life. The streets say Punk was spotted enjoying a Happy Meal after his destruction of Jack Perry. AEW's audience fell off violently in the weeks to follow, probably because some tuned in thinking CM Punk might come back to AEW, only to realize Cousin Phil was gone for good. Okada was reduced to a comedy character with a paper championship. He barely wrestled, In a matter of weeks, the Young Bucks' authority was easily muted by Christopher Daniels, basically a substitute teacher who was hired remotely by Tony Khan. The end. That was the story. It sucked. And not only did AEW not learn its lesson about hostile takeover storylines, they followed up with another one just months later. And it was so bad, it made this list like we just talked about. AEW in 2024 was nothing short of a disaster. The more I watch AEW, the more I fear that all that money will just buy more time to f*** up on national television. When people see one wrestling company streaming on Netflix and the other on the WBD Circus station, it'll be impossible to take AEW seriously as competition to NXT, let alone Raw or SmackDown. I don't know what AEW needs to turn it all around, but sadly, I'm pretty sure that nobody cares. Will AEW shake it off in 2025? Should the feds free Luigi? Tell me in the comments!